Because it's always time to go indie now.
Welcome to the Shadowrunner Showcase, hosted by Go Indie Now. Tonight we'll be introducing you to a group of authors who want to share and lead you through epic adventures, self-discoveries, characters you just might fall in love with, and series you cannot do without. Anchored by the reason we're all here, to celebrate the amazing KJ Fieler, who has been championing indie authors with her podcast.
So you wear so many hats, it's hard to know where to begin the interview.
I like to call them tiaras.
Tiaras, I like tiaras. That's awesome.
And promotional services, and now has become one with her very first novel. So welcome to this very special event. There will be plenty of books to add to your growing TBR piles, giveaways, and contests to win. So sit back and enjoy with me, your mistress of ceremonies for tonight's festivities, Ms. Tanya Todd. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for KJ Fieler's release party. We are very excited to celebrate her amazing accomplishment in putting out this book. We know it's been a long time coming. My name is Tanya Todd. I will be the MC for this event. She's brought in many of her author friends. They're going to do giveaways. There's going to be fun and talking and, discussing people's journeys. And we're going to kick this off by talking with Kat herself. Welcome.
Hi.
To your own event. Tell us how exciting this is for you.
This is very exciting. I have been to a couple of pre-launch in-person events, but I think this is really exciting. So we're online. This is great.
Yes. Well, talk to us a little bit about why you decided to throw such a big release party where you're bringing in other people.
Well, one of the reasons is because I used to be a publicist to authors, and I just enjoy publicity. And I started out of frustration because I just want to get back to that YouTube channel called Writer to Writer, where I'm doing author interviews now. So if anybody goes to YouTube and looks for @Kat Fieler, and you can find Writer to Writer, and you may find your favorite authors there. You can find out what they sound like and look like. So I thought this was just a logical extension of that.
So tell us a little bit more about Writer to Writer. What inspired you to put the effort into having your own program?
A long time ago in another life, I worked for a writers festival that was out of Jacksonville, Florida, and there was a program affiliated with that, and I was involved. And now I see a lot of podcasts where people are talking about the art of writing, but I'm not seeing a lot of author spotlight podcasts, and this isn't really a podcast, it's a YouTube channel. But I really enjoyed getting to know authors, and some of my friends have discovered that I know some of the authors that they like, and they've asked me what they sound like, what is their humor like, and so I decided to give that to the audience. These are the people that created the worlds and the characters that you love so much. So you can get to know them. Who's
the amazing talent behind the little clips that you produce and the graphics that you have? Because that's one of the hardest parts of having a show or a podcast is the media. And I never mastered it, and you're doing amazing at it already, and you just started.
I would love to claim credit, but my husband was an architect, and he's retired now, but he's always been into graphic design and could never find a way to make that a job. So in his retirement, yeah, he offered. I didn't stick him with it.
Well, he's still creating, and I think it's amazing that he's a part of your team.
Yeah, he's really good. He's very proud of this, and he's also really happy to be involved. So it gives him something to do.
Well, let's talk about your book.
Okay.
Tell us a bit about your author journey. How did you come up with the idea for this? How long did it take you to write it? And then what was your path to publication?
So quite a while ago, this started off as the story, not the character, started off as a short story in an anthology by a publisher, filmmaker. He was a multi-talented man by the name of Sam Peralta, and he runs Wind Drift Press, and he's also got some programs like the Codex Project, Lunar Codex, where he's archiving authors and art and music and stuff on the moon. So this was one of his anthologies, and it didn't launch. And I was writing to that anthology. So when it didn't go, he gave me the rights back and encouraged me to turn it into a novel. And because I had had trouble sticking to the word count. So I did write the novel, but then I had to take it out of that world and create another world. And the character of Ada came forward, and she became the whole reason for everything. And then I wasn't even sure it was steampunk anymore. So it's ended up being a multi-genre. It's part dark fantasy, part steampunk, part historical fantasy. And it's just the world that Ada wanted to live in. So here we are.
So tell us a bit about her story.
Ada, okay. When the book opens, Ada is 10, and she is a well-to-do child, and she has a straight-laced future in front of her. She will learn to embroider and serve high tea, and her father will choose a husband for her, and she will marry and have some couple of heirs and never be hungry and never be cold. But she has a grandmother that's kind of a legend in the family who shunned her well-to-do roots and went to America and wrote and sold poetry. And then her brother, grandmother's brother, cut her off and said, no, you have to come back to London and marry. So she did. But Ada was fascinated by the idea that you could leave and have a life. So that's the beginning of the tale. And then there's a birth that's about to happen. It's the heir that the father has always wanted. And Ada realizes that she's about to lose everything. She's going to lose the chess games with him. She's going to lose the nighttime story reading with him. And this new child will become the apple of his eye. In the meantime, she starts seeing some weird creature in the house, and no one believes her. And the only one that can see it besides her is her aunt's dog, which makes her think it might be real. So that's how the story starts out.
Do you have a giveaway prepared for today?
I do. So today I'm giving away 2 personalized print copies of Shadowrunner and 2 Kindle versions. And to enter the contest, just sign up for my newsletter at kjfieler.com or like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Writer to Writer. And you can find that on YouTube by searching for @CatFiler. And then email me from my author website and let me know which was your favorite interview. So winners will be selected at random and notified via email. And the contest runs through midnight tonight.
Say that last part again. It was a little cut off.
Okay. So if you can either go to my author website at kjfieler.com and just enter, sign up for the newsletter, or you can go to YouTube and search for me at CatFiler, and then email me from my author website and let me know which interview was your favorite. And the winners will be selected at random and notified via email. And the contest runs until midnight tonight.
Well, I am glad I asked you to repeat it because I definitely didn't hear the end of that.
Uh-oh. I don't know if it's me. We're having an electrical storm.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Well, that's terrifying and awesome at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, before we move on to your next guest author, why don't you tell us a bit about the support system that you have in place that helped you get where you are with this book?
Yeah, there have been a lot of people. As a past publicist to authors, I really enjoyed doing that, but I didn't enjoy billing people, so I just quit. I didn't quit doing it. I just stopped charging people. And so what ended up happening was the friends I became friends with all my clients, and they have kept track of me over the years. And anytime I do something, it's like they keep a ledger that they owe me something. I didn't feel that way. So when my book came out, they kind of lined up and offered to review, read, edit, and all kinds of things. And so it's been an amazing journey. I really never had thought of publishing, and it's because of the group of authors that I know that I finally tried it for myself. I've been writing my whole life, but I just stick them in a desk drawer. I didn't want to do anything with it. And I was pushed into doing this, just for the record. But it's been a wonderful journey. It's been an amazing journey, and I'm really happy that it's out, and I'm enjoying this. Yeah,
I'm guessing all the pushing was done with love.
it was for sure. And then the minute that I had the book out, I got, the rush to help. So that was great. Yeah.
What has been the most rewarding part of this journey for you?
Oddly, hearing from readers. I don't enjoy in-person events. It's not that I hate being there. It's just I don't know how to act. I don't like being the center of attention. So when a reader comes up to me and tells me that they've read something from my book and they were touched by it, that makes it all worth it. At this point, if my publisher was to tell me that's all you're ever going to get, I'd be okay with that. So
It is wonderful.
yeah.
What is the best way that listeners can support you in the work that you do?
The best way would be to join my newsletter. I can keep you up to date on events, not only about myself, so at kjfieler.com, but I also, in the newsletter, I send out events about other authors. Obviously, we're all together here, and I do put in the newsletter what other people are doing too. And the other way would be to go to Writer on YouTube and watch the events, because I love the book, and there is going to be a second and a third book, but I will tell you that the YouTube channel is my passion.
Well, with that in mind, make sure that you put the links to all of that in the comments section as soon as we have our next author up.
Okay, will do.
Well, thank you very much for bringing us all together today. With that in mind, we will move on to Susan.
Thanks.
Welcome, Susan. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's exciting to be here.
Well, before we get into things, why don't you tell us how you know KJ?
Oh gosh, we've kind of known each other, one of those things where you meet someone on the internet and you've been friends on the internet forever and you've never met in real life, but they've just sort of been around for a decade and now they're your friend. We're like that, and authors. So I've been on a couple of her podcasts, and yeah, I don't know. Sorry.
The reason I ask is because networking is such an important part of this business, and there's a variety of people on the show today, and I just want to put it out there to any of the listeners who happen to be writers that, they say it's who you know, but who you know could be as simple as someone from your writing group or someone you connect with online. And I just want to share the various ways that you can network in this business.
Oh, absolutely. I think just being out there and being genuine in yourself and say, hey, I'm a writer. And like, we're all so isolated that
right.
Connecting in any way is fantastic. And as long as you're open to it, your circle will grow. And I've been blessed to have like just a huge circle over all of this time, and Kat's in there. So.
Well, why don't you tell us a bit about your writing journey?
I've been publishing since 2011, making a business out of it, publishing science fiction. I don't know if you can see my series up here is my most recent series. There we go. Like mounted it up there because I'm super proud of the covers. Anyway, I have science fiction mostly, and this is the book I'm giving away today. And it's my hope punk climate fiction. And
what is it called?
It's called When You Had Power.
When You Had Power.
It's the first of 4 books in a very tightly connected series. And it's tightly connected for a reason, because I feel like, being connected, to play off of your idea about the author community being connected, and we're more powerful when we're connected, and we have like that safety net is our friends and our connections to other people. That's what the series is talking about, how if we're going to survive the climate crisis now and in the future, we're going to need to build some more connections. And so I build that into the book, into the series, and it really encodes a lot of what I feel like we just need to change the narrative about. It's not going to be one hero that saves us. It's going to be all of us working together. So I started writing this particular series. I've been writing since 2011 and publishing, but this one was like, once the pandemic hit, I was like, I can't write dark stuff anymore. I need something that's going to shine a light forward and help me just like even imagine how we get out of this. And so that's how the series started. And I've been writing it for a couple of years, just finished it up this year. And I'm fully engaged in this genre now. It's like, definitely I'm going to be writing from now on because we got a lot of problems.
So the power in the title, is that a double entendre?
It's probably a triple or quadruple entendre. It is definitely like the lead character is a power engineer working on Power Island 1, which is an innovative offshore renewable energy cauldron of innovation technology place. And so she's one of the engineers that's keeping the place running. And she discovers a mystery where one of her turtle bots, which is maintaining the kelp farms, gets like sliced in half. And she's like, what is happening? And then like the power is being siphoned off of the island. And she's like, what is happening? Of course, she's an engineer. I'm also an engineer. So I'm like, channeling myself in this character just a little bit. But she wants to fix it. I want to fix things. So she wants to fix it. And so she goes down the rabbit hole with this mystery and finds that there are some bad guys doing bad guy things and that are, dragging us backward in all this progress that they've made. And she's like, oh, no, I don't think so. And so it's also about the power, like who has power in the community. Literally, like people are losing power. And so like, that's a life-threatening thing, but right. Also like, who has the power to keep the lights on or shut them off. And there are many different levels of power in the series that I tackle because that is the root issue of who has the power to make change. And so I try to get into that.
Excellent theme.
Thank you. I really like it, which is why I'm totally hooked into this genre, because it's just, I'm like, this is really important to me. So
I wanted to talk to you about genre because you said that what inspired you to write what you're writing is because you couldn't deal with the negativity in the world anymore. And I will say that things like Hallmark and romance, those skyrocketed during the pandemic because people were just flocking to positivity. They want a happily ever after. They need joy in their lives. But you didn't go specific romance. You went to hope punk, which is that's a unique genre. Talk to us about hope punk.
It is. Hope punk is like almost not a genre. I almost feel like it's a bit of a phenomenon where people are kind of reaching for a more positive way to go forward. And it includes things like connecting with other people, having groups that solve problems, not a lone hero. It's having compassion, having radical compassion for people, because that's the solution, not violence. Mm-hmm. And so there's sort of a whole suite of ideas that go along with hope punk, or at least as I understand it. And I felt like that had a lot of agency in it, which is why I was drawn to it, I have no problem at all with people who go for the cozy romance, escapism, because that serves a real function to just have like a release valve and a comfort thing of like, God, I just need a break for a while. And it's like super important. Like, take that break, have that healing time. That's actually like, you don't think you're doing it, but like actually you're kind of doing hope punk.
Yeah.
Because you're integrating and you're healing. And then when you're ready to come back into the fight a bit, then that's where you want to pick up my story, because my story is going to be like, here's some people who are out there engaging the battle in a nonviolent and loving and caring way. But I feel like we have to heal the world. And before we can heal the world, we have to heal ourselves. So
now that I'm better, what do we do? Let's pick up this book and find out.
Yes, exactly.
So what about solar punk?
Solar punk is like hope punk's eco-conscious cousin. So specifically like the climate, how do we, which, I mean, and realistically speaking, every story needs to be a solar punk story going forward, because the climate is just like changing now. Like, we are in heat and, heat threatening heat indexes all over the United States right now and across Europe. Like, it's not the future, it's now. And so it's almost like any story you write that doesn't include the climate, it's kind of fiction or fantasy. Like, oh, here's a world where the climate isn't changing. We're going to call that a fantasy. So there's kind of like, we're in this weird transitional time where it's kind of sinking in that this is here, this is going to be here for a long time.
Dystopia is real.
It's real. And like, what now? Like, what do we do? Like, when I have to figure out if it's safe to go outside, and breathe the air, or just, I had a friend who's down in Texas, and she's like, yeah, I almost died today going out to a barbecue for half an hour because it's like 120 degrees outside. And with the humidity, like, that will literally kill you. And so she's like, just here to confirm, it's deadly. Yeah, it is. And we haven't really adjusted to that yet. So I'm hoping that people will, like, put in the comments that you want to win the book. Say, I want to win that hope punk. And I will pick a winner to send a print copy to. But I would also encourage people to go to my website. I have not only the novel series, and the first book, ebook, is free. I also have a series of short stories. So if you want to just get a nibble, or if you're just kind of curious about what hope punk and solar punk are, I've got a whole page on there that has recommendations of novels, short stories, film, TV. So if you're looking for your next, like, I need to like have something positive in the world and not like the drumbeat of, death and destruction. Come check out that page. There's a lot of really good
stuff. They have their place.
They are insisting on having their place. So, yeah.
To that note, I want to ask you about how cozy, gentle healing is radical and disruptive.
Because the world is so relentlessly brutal. So it often will tell us that you have to work and work and work until you can rest, when in reality, you need to rest before you can work. And so every living being needs to rest. Every living being needs to heal before they can come back and be, generative and thriving and living fully. So our world is not set up for that. Our world is set up to like grind you down, hustle and hustle, hustle, do the grind until you break. And then I guess you're done. And then you go into the healthcare system or something. So anyway, I feel like it's radical and disruptive because it changes what, it flips the expectation.
I imagine I'm guilty of that too. I'm guilty of overworking myself and under-resting.
I mean, like, as every one of us is. Like, that is why it's radical and disruptive to not be that, and to say it's okay to have more balance there. And it also is radical and disruptive. I feel like hope punk exists to challenge the status quo of this brutal world that we're in, because it says, no, actually, we're not going to do that. We're going to do We're going to take time to be whole people. And I mean, like, everything starts to fall apart because like what you're not going to sit there and consume constantly and run the rat race. Like, how our whole system is set up for that. So if you're challenging that, that is very threatening.
It's a form of activism, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And I spend a lot of time in activist spaces listening to activists as they're grappling with a lot of feelings, a lot of exhaustion, a lot of, the hard feelings that we're all dealing with. And that is a theme that I hear again and again, that you have to take that break. It is not optional. If you don't schedule downtime, your body will schedule downtime for you. Right? And
I confirm.
Yeah, like, is there any one of us that has not happened to? I certainly had that happen. So,
what are the ways that you take a break? How do you detox yourself from the negativity in the world?
I just posted today about one of my many techniques that I use. There's an environmental journalist organization called GRIST, and they do reporting on the climate. So all the bad stuff, but also solutions. So what are people doing that's good? How are we fixing this? And today they had a newsletter come out that was, we're having record heat in France, but the French government has figured out how to connect older people who are uniquely vulnerable to heat and living alone and vulnerable to these young people who need a place to live. And so they bring these people together and they take care of each other, which is wonderful and healing. And it fits, it's like two birds, one stone. Good job, French government.
Yes.
You hear a story like that and you're like, okay, there are people taking actions in the world. And that's very restorative to me to hear. And GRIST, I highly encourage people to just go subscribe to their newsletter. I support them, send them money monthly because they do such great work. But even if you just subscribe to their newsletter and have that in your inbox as a little gift to yourself every day of like, hey, here's why it's not doom scrolling all the time. Here's the good part. So.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Why don't you remind everyone the best way to connect with you and support your work?
Go to my website, www.susankquinn.com. And I have a bunch of short stories. I have some free novels on there. You can subscribe to my newsletter there. All my stuff is there. My social media stuff as well. And, if you come find me on Facebook, I got to warn you, I'll be talking about how to be disrupting the status quo. So be prepared for that. Or you could just go read my stuff and you will know very much what I believe. So
that's exactly why I am going to be checking out your Facebook.
Awesome. I look forward to that.
Thank you very much, Susan.
Thank you. Take care.
Next up, we have David. I think we're having technical difficulties. Joe, can you hear us? Hi, David. Hi again.
Hi, Tanya. How are you doing?
All right. That was a really amazing trailer. Who does your book trailers?
My book trailer was done by an outfit called Books to Bundles, which is run by a woman named Sarah Burr, and she does graphics and video trailers, and she is amazing and responsive. So a big shout out to Sarah Burr at Books to Bundles.
Yeah, I'll probably be in touch with you about that because that was pretty
Okay.
nice.
Well,
We're having technical difficulties. It started over. It's like, I don't mind watching this again.
I hope everybody liked it twice.
Yes.
Before we go any further, I want to thank KJ Fieler for inviting me to this program. It was really, really nice of her to include me in her party, and I want her to know how much I appreciate being invited.
It was very gracious of her to have her own release party, and instead of making it all about herself, she's like, well, I want others at my party, and I want
Yes,
to
it
share the
is.
spotlight. And she's using her gifts as a behind-the-scenes PR person to promote other people. Not everybody does that. We
No,
definitely appreciate you.
that's a wonderful thing for her to do.
Well, why don't you tell us a bit about what you write, who you are and what you write?
Well, who I am, I'm a retired lawyer, the best kind. I write crime fiction. My one and only book right now, I'm working on the second one. My one and only book is In Danger of Judgment that you just saw the trailer about. Here we go. In a minute, I'll tell you how you can sign up for a giveaway. But for now, let me tell you a little bit about the book. It is a crime thriller set in 1987 Chicago. I set it in Chicago because that's where I grew up. And it is a revenge story. I think people got a sense for what the story is about from the video trailer, so I won't say much about it now. The two protagonists are Chicago police detectives, an older man and a younger woman. They have a mentor-protege relationship. They're investigating a series of drug-related murders. What they don't know is that the drug lord they're investigating is part of a much larger story, and they have become pawns in a game that they didn't know they were in. And then there is a fourth man who is also part of the much larger story, who seeks revenge on the drug lord. And by the end of the book, these four people are headed on a collision course. And that's the basic story.
So you started off as a lawyer. How much of this story is based in truth?
Zero. It doesn't have anything to do with anything that I ever did. But I actually oversee.
I don't know if we can trust that answer because you are a lawyer. You may. I'm not associating myself. I am not.
If you think you can trust lawyers, have at it. Just kidding. There is actually a good bit of truth in the story, but it's not truth of my story. I did a lot of historical research for this book because it goes back to events in Vietnam. So I did a lot of research on Vietnam. It also involves heroin smuggling out of the Golden Triangle in Southeast Asia. So I did a tremendous amount of research on heroin smuggling and events that took place over a period of decades. So what you read in the novel about the Vietnam War and about drug smuggling out of the Golden Triangle, most of that is true. I did alter some of the details to make it a better story, but a lot of the historical background is true. So that part is based in truth. And the settings in the story, especially the Chicago settings, those are all real places. So when you read about a particular location, in the beginning of the story, I'm naming streets. Those are all real places. They're places that were a block from where I grew up, so I knew all the ins and outs of them. So there is some truth in the background of the story.
So how challenging was it for you to change your writing style from the way a lawyer writes to writing for fiction? Because it's not the same at all.
No, it's not the same at all. It was pretty hard. I had never written fiction before. And, as a lawyer, I was writing nonfiction, supposed to be nonfiction. And changing my mindset to creating things was hard. I'm naturally analytical. That helped me as a lawyer. Not that creative. So creating something out of thin air was difficult for me. It took me over 20 years to figure out the story before I actually sat down and started typing it. And then once I started typing it, I had to find my voice, as they say. And that was hard. I had to figure out a way to not sound like a lawyer. But I will say the one aspect of lawyering that helped me with the book was that when you're writing legal stuff, you have to be concise. Judges don't want to read through a lot of extraneous stuff. Sometimes you have an actual word limit on what you can do. So I learned how to write short sentences, short paragraphs, and that carried over to the book. I have a fairly sparse writing style, so that was helpful too.
And that's good for this type of book too. For a
Yeah,
thriller, you don't want to get too wordy with it.
Yeah, I tried to follow Elmore Leonard's rules on writing, and one of which is avoid detailed descriptions of people and places, and another one was leave out the parts readers tend to skip. So I tried to leave out the parts that readers tend to skip.
We would like all authors to do that part.
Well, this is not literary fiction. I'll warn everybody in advance. This is basically a pulp novel that you take to the beach on vacation. Okay, so I felt like a sparse writing style would work.
So something else I wanted to discuss with you is your love of comic books. Which are your favorite comics?
Oh my God. When I was growing up, most of my meager allowance went to comic books. This was mostly in the 60s during the so-called Silver Age of Marvel. I'd say my favorites were probably Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Avengers, Daredevil. But there were a lot of comics I bought on a regular basis, but I'd say those were probably the top ones.
And what do you think of the adaptations that have been made to screen recently?
I enjoy them for what they are. They do kind of mess with the storylines a little bit, and they mess with the characters a little bit. And the characters have evolved over the last 60 years. So right. I can't blame them for doing that. And it's possible that the characters on screen are truer to their current iterations than when I was reading them. But you grow up with a certain concept of a myth, and that's kind of the myth that you believe in. But I enjoy the movies for what they are. They're very well done.
And even in the comics, they tweak and adapt and change for whatever the current climate is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's fair that they would have to adapt to the current times and the medium, because there are certain things that you can do on the page that you can't do on the screen.
Sure. I mean, I go to the movies. I like them.
So how did your love of comic books affect your love of storytelling?
Well, in comics, there's usually a good guy and a bad guy. I'm using guy in a generic sense.
I know what you mean.
Sometimes the line is blurry. The Punisher, is he a good guy or a bad guy? Not sure, maybe a little bit of both. But growing up with comic books, usually there was a very defined line between the hero and the villain. And the hero won. And the hero was more likable than the villain. You wanted the hero to win, or at least I did. And those are the stories that I like. I know not everybody likes that type of story as I do. That's fine. But for me personally, I want the hero to win, and I want to like the hero. So I created a villain who's a real villain. He's a bad guy. And I created two hero detectives who I think people will like. At least I hope people will like them, because I created them to be likable people.
Do you have any anti-heroes in your stories?
Oh, you'll have to read the book to answer that one.
Well said.
When I was writing the book, I was not planning on trying to get it published. And I mean, promoting the book never even crossed my mind. So I just wrote the story I wanted to write. And after I wrote it, I realized there are so many twists in this book. It's hard to describe in detail without giving away a spoiler.
It is.
Yeah, I don't mean to be coy, but to answer your question about anti-heroes, if you read the book, everything will be answered.
And it's okay. I don't like spoilers in general, so I'm absolutely fine with coy. Why don't you tell people about your giveaway so that they can read the book and learn the answers to these burning questions?
I am giving away 2 signed hardcover copies of my little baby here with a bookmark included. And there are 2 ways to enter the giveaway. If you have already signed up for my newsletter, just send me an email and tell me I'm entering your giveaway. My email is david@davidravenauthor.com. Just say I'm entering the giveaway. if you have not yet signed up for the newsletter, go to my website, davidravenauthor.com. If you go to the contact page, you'll see a button where you can sign up for the newsletter. You'll enter your email address. You'll automatically be entered. And it closes at midnight tonight, which is about 5 hours from now, midnight Eastern time. And then tomorrow I will pick 2 people at random and I will email them to get their shipping address.
And I should have asked you, how did you meet KJ Fieler?
We met through the Atlanta Writers Club. I live in the Atlanta area, and I can tell you the only reason why I can sit here and tell you I have a published book is because I joined the Atlanta Writers Club. It is a fantastic organization, and that is how I met KJ.
They really are. They're wonderful. I am in Las Vegas, and I joined them because of just how supportive they are. They're an amazing community, and they do their best to support the writers in their network.
Yes, they do. It opens up a lot of opportunities, and I learned a lot about writing by going to their workshops. So yeah, it's been fantastic.
So what's next for you?
Well, if I can work up the energy, I'm going to try to finish writing the second book. I'm partway in right now. I conceived it as a series from the very beginning. So right now I'm writing the second book, and hopefully I'll get that done before long. I'm going to try to do it faster than 28 years, which is how
yeah.
the first one, but we'll see.
So what was your path to publication? How did you end up getting the book in print?
I'm going to give you a real abbreviated version of that. I had planned on self-publishing, which I think is a perfectly good way to go. And when I finished my first draft, I sent it out to some friends and said, give me some feedback. And one of them suggested I try to get it published. So I thought, okay, I'm retired. I got a lot of time on my hands. I have nothing to lose. I will try to get it published. I had not the first idea of how you go about getting a book published because it had never been relevant to me. So I joined the Atlanta Writers Club.
Right.
And that's how I learned. I went to the conferences and pitched agents and pitched publishers, and that's how I got to where I am now.
Kat, now would be a great time to put the link for the Atlanta Writers Club in the chat.
If you Google Atlanta Writers Club, you will find it easily. But yeah.
Well, I appreciate you being here. Tell everyone the best way to stay connected with you who does not have the most prominent social media presence. What can they do to connect with you, and how can they support your work?
Okay, well, I am on Facebook at David Raven Author. And you can also email me, david@davidravenauthor.com. I love getting emails, and I try to respond to everyone's emails within 24 hours. And really the best way to support me, and I think this is true of all authors, is please read my book. Borrow it, however you get it. Please read my book and post a fair and honest review on Amazon and Goodreads. If you like it, tell me why. If you didn't like it, tell me why. I've got a thick skin. It's okay. I want to know what I did wrong.
And where can they check out that trailer again?
The trailer is on YouTube. So if they want to see the trailer, just go to YouTube and in the search bar, enter "In Danger of Judgment," and it should come up.
Very good. Thank you very much for joining us.
All right. Thank you.
Next up, we have Gail. Hi, Gail. That trailer really sets the tone for your stories.
That was a great trailer. I didn't do it, but it was great.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and the stories that you like to tell?
Sure. After I've written 7 books. My 7th one just came out 3 weeks ago.
That's amazing.
it took me until maybe the third book before I realized I actually had a theme or a type of story that I was writing. I thought they
Mhm.
were all very, very different, but in looking back, all of my characters, all of my main characters are women, mostly mature women for the most, well, mature in age for the most part, but and they're all seeking kind of a second chance or starting over in some way, either professionally, personally, both, moving across the country, starting a new chapter in their life, and really looking for a happy ever after, and not necessarily with the guy or ending up that way, but happy in whatever it is that they're seeking to do with their
Mhm.
lives. So yeah, they all face challenges, and kind of trying to overcome them, and see what happens next.
What prompted you to write the first one?
Oh, Jeep Tour. I wrote Jeep Tour. It came out 9 years ago, and this is the cover, Jeep Tour. It was a family vacation we took to Sedona, Arizona, and I just started picturing this woman that was vacationing in Sedona, and thinking that that would be a wonderful place to start over.
Mm.
She and I, the more I saw her, and I was a college professor, she was a college professor. She lost her bid for tenure. I did not, but she did, and decided kind of impulsively to start over among the red rocks of Sedona. And I just thought, if you were going to kind of reinvent yourself, that would be a wonderful place. So Sedona really inspired me to tell the story of my first character, Jackie Sullivan.
And at what point did you realize, hey, I'm really doing this? I'm writing a book.
Yeah, I guess I had always said I was going to write a book. My closest friend from junior high all the way through, when I finally told her, I'm writing a book, and this was, I was in my 50s, and she said, well, it's about freaking time, like you always said you were going to write a book. And I said, I don't think I ever said I was going to write a book, but her memory is much, much better than mine, so we'll go with that. Um, but yeah, I mean, to say that I'm writing my eighth book now is I don't know. I got nothing. I'm just
It's
as
incredible.
surprised as anybody, I think.
So tell us about your path to publication. Once you finished the book, what were your next steps?
Well, I wrote the book, not knowing really anything about the publishing industry, and I thought, okay, world, here's my book. Who's going to publish it? And the answer to that was, you are, and that's what I learned that I needed to do. I've since had two other publishers with other books, and both of them have gone out of business. So
Mm.
I'm with a publisher now, which is how I met Kat. We share the same publisher, and so it's interesting. So I think I've been self-published, traditionally published. I went with a hybrid publisher, so I'm kind of done it all, I think.
Is that Black Rose? Is that who?
Black Rose? Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Well, do you want to tell us about your other books?
Sure. My most recent books are my Miranda books. I wrote Miranda Writes. I just had this character in mind, a former district attorney who is seeking a career comeback, and I used a lot of contacts that I had. I was in marketing, and I was in education. I was never a lawyer, but Miranda was. So Miranda was my the main character, and I published Miranda Writes last year, and I just thought, I wasn't planning on doing a sequel, And I just thought, there's more to her. There's more to this story. And so I came out with Miranda Knights. She is now a late night radio talk show host on legal issues because her attempt to rekindle her legal career did not work the way she wanted to. So now she's doing a late night radio call-in show. And like all my books, she's, looking for another chance of facing challenges.
Yes.
And in this one, there's a lot of challenges because she is a fanatical fan who is convinced that he's the one to redeem her for whatever she's done. And so that complicates her life greatly, is having this. And I have one more book, one more Miranda book to write. And I'm hoping to get that done next year.
So your first character seemed to be based a lot on your life. What are the qualities that you share with Miranda?
I think we're both very social, a little bit awkward sometimes. My grown children will tell you that I'm a little bit awkward sometimes, and Miranda is definitely awkward. But she's a wonderful friend, and I think if I have any qualities, socially redeeming qualities, I try to be a good friend and a good daughter, wife, mother, all those roles that are very important to me. So I think we probably share that.
Well, I imagine you are a good friend, which is why Kat invited you to be part of her release party.
Yeah, that's the best thing I've found in this whole in the past 9 years. Other authors are just remarkably kind, thoughtful, supportive, with advice, with suggestions. That's how I got my publisher. That's how I got, all kinds of opportunities from other writers. It's been wonderful. It's been a really wonderful journey. Just the people I've met.
Because there's room for all of us. We're not competing. Yes. We are supporting each other.
That's the best thing.
Side by side on the shelves, right?
Right. And if you buy a book and you like it, you'll buy another book.
That's
because
right.
There's, it's not competitive. It's that was a wonderful surprise.
So do you have a giveaway today?
I do. I am going to give away 2 print copies, signed copies of any of my books. I have 7 of them to kind of check me out. And also 2 ebooks, 2 Kindle copies. So I'm asking people just to email me or make a note in the comments here which book they want, and I will pick winners at random and ask you for your mailing address or your email address for the Kindle copies. So I've 7 books to choose from. So whatever you like is up for grabs.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Please tell listeners the best way to connect with you and find your work.
The easiest way to connect with me is either directly on Amazon, which is where the most updated copies and reviews and descriptions of my books are. I also have a Facebook page, Gail Olmsted, author, pretty straightforward. And I think that's probably those are the most updated ways to find me.
Well, thank you very much. Congratulations on all your success.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Next up, we have Tara.
was hard. I had to figure out a way to not sound like a
Welcome, Tara. Looks like you have quite a collection there.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, very well. So tell us a little bit about your writing. I see you have quite a few books. Can you not hear me?
I'm hearing myself twice.
Do you have this open in two places?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. It still is being repeated, so give me one moment. I'm not quite
No
sure.
problem. Technical difficulties happen.
We are having technical difficulties.
Make sure you're muted everywhere else except for this device.
That's what it is. I'm afraid that whatever I'm doing is making it go twice. Can you hear me, Tanya?
I can hear you just fine. We're not having any interference, but I think you're hearing everything with feedback or with. Do you have the YouTube channel open in addition to this?
Yeah, I mean, let's.
Joe, do you have any suggestions on how to help her?
I think we've got it fixed now. Hopefully, I believe we do.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. I apologize. I have to be honest. I thought I came on a little bit later, and I was so into this show. I was just listening to all these authors. You introduced me, and I'm like, wait, I thought I had a little more time. So thank you. It's
okay.
It's been enjoyable. I've learned lots and loved hearing about everyone. And definitely, first and foremost, would love to talk about KJ because she, as you've already pointed out, is dear to all of us, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her.
She is wonderful and supportive, and I appreciate the way that she takes her talents and gives rather than trying to just apply them all to herself, which would be perfectly fine. There's no reason that you can't just say, hey, I have all this training. Now let me put myself in the spotlight, but she wants to share. And that just makes her even more lovable.
Well, and what's fun, Tanya, you don't know this, but when she met you, she said, you need to reach out to Tanya Todd. And that was I never have. And she was right. You would be a fun person to connect with. You're in the Vegas area?
I am.
I'm in Utah. So
not too far.
We're neighbors.
I bet the weather is a little better there than it is here.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yes, I am not in your 100+ heat. We do have some heat like that. So,
well, now that you recognize that you're in the spotlight and we're here to talk.
Yes, now that
tell us about your books.
I would love to. So I've been writing for a while, and if all goes well, I'll have my 8th book out by the end of the year, if not soon after. And I love taking the principles of psychology and applying them into fiction stories. I think fiction is a powerful way to learn. And we sometimes learn best through seeing characters go through experiences, and that's how it connects with our own life and behavior. And so I just see fiction as a wonderful tool for us to learn about human behavior and just who we are.
Are all of your books fiction?
Yes, all of my books are fiction.
Because some of the covers look like they might step into other areas. And I think you just explained why, because that is your interest.
Exactly. And well, what's interesting is I coach and do some ghostwriting for others, and those tend to be more on the memoir side. So I do think that's interesting that I have done it, but not for myself. It may be a list down the road, but that's a different there's a different need and passion that leads you to do the memoirs.
So do you have a particular book that you want to share with us, or do you want to talk about?
Well, I have the giveaway, so I'll just share a little bit on the giveaway side. This is the first book in the series that I'm currently working on. It's called Remember, and the series is the Existence series. And the premise for this one is there is a man who his wife has terminal cancer, and she's going to pass away, and she just wants to spend time together in those final days, not be fighting so hard to stay. It's terminal, and so she just wants to be present with each other. But her husband, who is an inventor, has this belief that he first can save her, and then when he realizes he can't, then he wants to give her the experiences she gave him through sharing memories with her. So his passion is to at least let her know the difference she made in her life and for him. But unfortunately, she dies before he's able to complete that invention. And so,
Spoiler alert.
It's just in the very beginning. But he ends up with meeting a patient who has the same terminal cancer and is convinced by this other patient to try out this invention on him. And so the two swap memories, and that leads into a whole business because the one does not die. And so that's what triggers this book, is this invention that they're working on and this ability for us to share in each other's memories. Because I love this idea of what experiences you had, what experiences have I had, and how would we put meaning behind those experiences if we were to swap them.
And haven't we all had those moments where we just want to get in someone's head and understand why?
And I've always wondered, like, if you actually, we say walking in someone else's shoes, but if you were suddenly able to take on, without any preparatory work, without the life-giving factors that prepare us, and you're suddenly in someone else's skin, basically, would you be like, wow, I now have much more respect for you? Or would you say, man, my life is super easy? Or,
right.
What would be the analysis if you could really just have for a moment what someone else deals with? I mean, there's chronic illness that people deal with, mental illness. There's so many things that people struggle with that we all we don't know. We really don't know what's
right. And there are intersections for everyone. So we might make these assumptions based on this one element that we can see, but we have no idea the entirety of their existence and what they have to go through.
Exactly. So that is the altruistic vision of this book, like this idea of how would we change? What would be the empathy that would happen? So the name of the invention is Empath, but things don't always go as planned. Not everybody has the same morals and beliefs. And so it triggers a fallout, which then leads to the rest of the series, this is the daughter to one of the inventors, and it's 20 years later and a whole change of events that happen. I enjoyed listening to Susan because mine also takes place due to our lack of care for the environment and what happens when we let science not be governed by ethics and values, and we let our own greed and passion and interest take over. And I think we're seeing that so much at the AI level, at the genetic coding level, by biotechnology. I mean, there's just so much that's going on that if we don't have ethics and values when we make these big, important decisions, we're putting really all of humanity at risk.
Right. I think about how many people are being affected, how many species are being affected by these decisions.
And I mean, it's scary because science is amazing. I love science. I have just followed it as a kid all my life. In fact, it was fun because this is the first book where I let my female protagonist love science. Like, I was kind of that closet science lover. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be real. I'm going to let this character just love science. And that's how it's been fun. It's been fun to have a 16, 17-year-old protagonist who is a science geek. I mean, she's a girl and she's a science geek. And I don't know where I was going with that thought, but the point is that
it's the first time letting that side of yourself glow through one of your characters.
It has been, I think I've enjoyed this series far more than I had expected. And as a reader who I've been sharing the ideas with before it all went to paper, she said, "You're going to really miss these characters when you're done." And it's been the general idea that came in 2014, and hopefully by the end of the year it will be wrapped up. So it's a tender but exciting time.
Wonderful. I would like you to tell the audience a little bit about story writing camps.
Oh, I would love to. So over the years, people would come to me and ask for advice and tips on writing. And I love sharing with them how to help their own publishing journey. I think even more than being a writer, I thought I always, like, my heart was being a writer, which it is, but I think I'm also an educator. I help design online courses, and I think fiction is one of the most powerful tools to teach people, not in a preachy way, but in a very showing way, very enlightening way, very empowering way for us as a reader to take what we need from stories. So when people would come to me and had a story that they wanted guidance in, I was eager to help. And so over the years, I started to craft the best way to channel our creativity and put some boundaries so that it doesn't stifle that creativity, but enhances it. So Story Camp is a way that some writers, we come together, I give them some guidance and direction, and the results have been amazing. I've been floored by the various ages that I've been able to work with, the various stages that they're at in the journey, and to just watch them come alive and see that their story, they too can complete a project and take their book to a published manuscript. Not manuscript, they take the manuscript to a published book.
Right. What's the best way for people to connect with you for story writing camps?
So if you go to my website, which is www.terracallred.net, there are options there, and one of them is Story Camp, so they can select that. I'm in the process of putting together the fall lineup. So if people are interested, there's a form for them to fill out, and I will be in touch to help coordinate the best time for them to attend camp.
Now, because you brought up your website, I also want to bring up a certain tab that I saw there that left me very curious. Tell us about 2023 celebration.
Thank you. I'm glad you asked. So what I'm doing this year, it's actually hitting my 20-year mark from when I first published. And I was prior kind of at this point of, like, you can look at all that's happened and celebrate the good, or you can look at all the things and dwell on what you feel like you missed out on. So that's how I kind of embarked into this year. And I will tell you, it has been nothing but amazing opportunities, incredible people. Like, it has been the funnest year I've had in my entire journey this year. And it's because I decided to celebrate just that it is an ongoing journey, but I've been fortunate with a lot of opportunities, and I wanted to embrace those opportunities. So I've opened up that celebration to my readers, my fans. Each month I pick a theme. I talk about my growth through the month, and then I have giveaway prizes that are tied in as well. So this month, which is my giveaway tied in with the launch event, is a copy of Remember. And then also, because memories are so important and we don't want to forget them, there is a gorgeous pen. And I know, I mean, you gotta, if you're a writer, you have to have the good stuff. So lovely, lovely pen. It'll come in its box and everything. It's brand new. And then there's...
Oh, we like pens that come in boxes. Isn't there something sexy about that?
This is such a writer thing. Nobody else would be as excited as me, but you have your refill, you know, because nothing's more upsetting when you have a pen you love and the ink runs out.
Yes.
So little things in life that bring you so much joy. And then we also have a journal, a succulent wooden journal to capture your memories.
Very cool.
So to enter, go to my website, terracallred.net. And go to the 2023 celebration, and you will see the giveaway. I'll also make sure it gets put into the chat, and it will end when the month ends, so Monday at midnight.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. Please make sure you tell everyone the best way to stay connected with you and where to find your books.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tanya. I appreciate that. So please go to my website, and all that information will be there.
Very good. And now we are on to our last author, Fiona.
Just kidding.
Like we're having technical difficulties again.
Well,
Maybe we should talk about Fiona and how amazing her name is.
I know. And where she's from. I want to know more about where she's from.
I know. She's our most exotic author, and we're just teasing the audience.
I just like spend the rest of the time talking about this awesome show and the wonderful authors that have been on here. So.
What we should really do is talk about KJ Fieler.
I know. I did not get to share.
Well, hello there, Fiona.
Hello.
I just wanted the audience to hear your amazing accent.
Oh, yes. Well, I was born in New Zealand, but I've lived in Brisbane, Australia for the last 25 years. So that's a bit of history of where I'm from.
So you wrote a story that doesn't take place in either of those countries.
Oh, exactly. Yes.
What drew you to this story that takes you so far from where you are?
Well, the story originally is set in England in 1770. So that's a Commonwealth country. So, that's a given. You can sort of associate that with New Zealand and Australia. But yes, why colonial America and a Powhatan village, as you see in the background here? Well, I actually lived in Indiana for a couple of years. So the United States has some special meaning for me and very near and dear to my heart. But also I have a very deep respect for Native American peoples and just how they lived, their culture, their background. And it's something I'm actually writing another book at the moment with Native Aboriginal people, which is Australian natives. Mm-hmm. And they have a saying that, you should tread lightly on the earth. And I feel that, in past the Native peoples, they've done this. It's so different from how we live today, of course. And treading lightly on the earth means, they left little impact. So they were able to successfully live for thousands of years. But the way they lived had a very little impact on the earth. So I just love that aspect of their culture. I love how they worked together as a community, how they supported each other. And of course, they had to do that for survival. Basically, in today's modern society, social media means that our connections, although they're numerous, they're not often as deep as perhaps we would like them. And that's why I wanted to delve into this. And our hearts need those deep connections, and it's something that we need. And that's why I love writing about the culture and the people and their customs, the way they thought. I really love it.
Well, speaking of connections, you're actually the farthest away from KJ. How did you two get to know each other? How did you become connected?
Yeah, my husband, Peter Caudron, is a science fiction author, self-published science fiction author who's written over 40 books, and he knows Kat very well. And so by association, I've gotten to know her too. So shout out to Kat too, to thank her for putting on today's thing. It's amazing. And I love getting to learn about all the other authors and their backgrounds, what they've written, but also to hear them and get to talk, see them talk.
So it's interesting that you mentioned backgrounds. You want to talk to us about the background you have there, the virtual background?
Sure. Oh, my virtual background?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I think I've actually got another part of Kat's background in there too, so I think it's meshed or something. But the bottom part of it is a Powhatan village where the majority of my book is set. So 1770, it leads up, the period of time leads up to the War of Independence. And, there were many rumblings going on in the background at that time, behind the scenes in colonial America. For example, the Boston Massacre, although that something that actually happened, it's sad that happened, but it's great content for a writer to talk about. So it's my cat's just come in.
We love cats here. That is not a problem. You say meow.
Yeah. Yeah, so I love period stories. I wrote this because that's what I like reading. They were simpler times, but they still had their own challenges. Human nature, they went through things that we all do, our emotions, things like that. So, yeah, I wanted to write in this period, and even though it's classified as historical romance, it's full of action and adventure. So, there's a little bit in it for everybody.
So what was the path to publication for this? Like, tell us from the beginning, how did you get it started? What did you do with it once you had the first draft written? And then how did you get it to be a physical book?
Right. Well, it's a long process writing a book. But it started, Through the Fire started about 3 years ago. When COVID hit, a lot of us were forced to stay inside for a while. And we're sort of, for me, I was thinking about taking up some creative pursuits. So I tried my hand at painting and also learning the piano. But these sort of mediums, it didn't really hit the spot for me. Gave up pretty quickly. And it wasn't until I was, I've been editing my husband's books for a while. And I sort of had a light bulb moment that, maybe I could do some writing. That's a great creative pursuit. So I never thought I could write a book, actually. I'll let you in on a little secret. I actually failed high school English. So
really?
I did. So that was never in my mind. Writing a book was never in my mind. But I'm a prolific reader, so I know what stories I like, and I know what a good story should have. And over the years, I've picked up some skills. I've worked in schools and I've helped children create their own stories. So the book started writing as a hobby mainly. And like many hobbies, it got put to the back burner a lot of times. Life gets in the way when you've got a hobby, and the housework and the laundry would always get priority over, those what you really wanted to do. But I found a quote from Picasso, actually, and he said, "Inspiration exists, but it has to find you working." And that sort of spoke to me and was like, okay, Fiona, you need to get on with this and get into it. And part of getting into it with historical fiction is researching. So I had to do a lot of researching for this book. A good example of that is my main character, Ellie. She's an artist in the book. And I'll show you a picture here. Oh, God.
Yes, because I saw that in the trailer, those really lovely sketches, right?
Yeah, there's a few illustrations in the book. Now, this might be a bit tricky because, here we go. There's a picture of a timber rattlesnake. Now,
back it up just a little bit.
Back it up.
Yeah, right there.
There we go. Can see that? Yeah.
Yes.
So you would think it would be easy to talk about. Your main character just picks up a pencil and draws the rattlesnake, right? But I didn't realize this until later, but in 1770, pencils weren't invented. So they didn't come about to 1795. So there's just small little details in that, like that you can't take for granted. And you have to constantly be fact checking your things with historical research. So this doing that and watching lots of YouTube videos on 18th century living, their clothes, the way they lived, what they ate, even amputations. I watched John Townsend's 18th century videos on amputation. So, all this was just sort of inspiring me and giving me ideas for the book. And, that really helped get me in the mindset for being in this period of time. And there were other things as well, like master classes on writing, like Neil Gaiman, Margaret Atwood, who said the waste paper basket is your friend, and and in our case, I guess now the delete key is your friend,
right?
So all these things, that was me working, and then the inspiration, the inspiration came from that. And this book took me 3 years to write, and you can probably read it in a few days, but it's got as all authors will attest, a book is part of your heart. A little bit of your soul comes out when you're writing a book. And not
what's the
only
most exciting thing you learned doing your research?
There'll be
or
some
maybe
spoilers,
maybe the most interesting thing that you learned, the most surprising thing.
I think it was with the connections in the Powhatan village. The woman in that village, because the main character is a woman, how she relates to the women in the village. They used to have a thing called the woman's hut. And this was a place that the women used to go to once a month, when they had their courses, their menstrual cycles. And it was a time of reflection, of celebration even, of what their bodies were doing. And it was a time where they would get taken care of. Their meals were brought to them. They didn't have the responsibilities of their children. And they could basically, do what they want. They did crafts and take care of their bodies and things like that. I thought, what a great thing that was.
Yes.
In their culture, we had nothing like that
of womanhood
today.
Rather than shunning someone for a natural part of their life.
Right. It's the opposite of what we do today. Today it's a bother and can't wait to get this over with and things like that. But it was a celebration. So it's just the change or the different type of thinking.
Are you doing a giveaway today?
I am doing a giveaway. So I have 2 physical copies to give away. And how I'm going to do it is, if you would like a copy of the book, just write in the comments section right now. And I will choose a winner and then get your details. And I'll put my email address down there, and you can tell me, where to send the book.
Very good. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Fiona. I don't know what time it is there, but I imagine it's not nearly the same time it is for any of us.
It's in the morning, so it's not too bad.
Okay.
Before I go, I'd just like to read a bit about the book, sure. The blurb on the back. Yeah, and so it says, in 1770, Alison Singleton had a lot to look forward to. That summer would be her first season in London's high society. Dancing by candlelight in gilded ballrooms hid the stark reality that most women of her age would become trapped in an early marriage. When news came from the colonies that her father had to remain at his military post in Virginia, her mother decided to join him in the New World. Ellie had an adventurous spirit, and she saw this as the perfect opportunity to escape the trappings of class in England and explore America. Little did she know what awaited her on the other side of the Atlantic. Between the British Army, the colonists, and the Native Americans, tensions were rising. And this book, I've written a dedication in the front as well, I'd just like to share, but it says, for all those who have walked through their own personal fires, who have faced life's trials and tribulations, and come out the other side. No one goes down life's path without some scars. If you have overcome, I applaud you. But for those still striving, may you find courage in Ellie's story to persevere and find beauty in the journey along the way. And that's my hope for my readers, that they will do that.
That is lovely, and what a wonderful way to end this presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just let everybody know, remind everyone how to connect with you.
Okay, yes. So you can find me at about.me/Fiona Caudron. I'll put all these things on the comment section. I'm on Instagram and Facebook just under my name. And you can find my book on Amazon. It's on Kindle Unlimited, free in the library. And if you enjoy it, please leave a review.
Thank you, Kat. She put it in the chat for you.
Oh, thanks, Kat.
And I think we're going to see Kat's trailer one more time for Shadowrunner, since it is. Well, this is the awkward part of the evening where they want me to talk about myself, even though I'm just supposed to be the MC. But what I will say is that I'm very grateful to be here, and I'm glad that I got to talk to all of these authors, because I happen to host an author meet and greet called Dime Grinds. Expect that I'm going to be contacting each and every one of you to come and showcase your book on that series. I hope that the hours work for Fiona, but if not, maybe we can make something work. I also am a co-host on the Femme On podcast. I talk about Femme On fitness. I talk about active activism. You can bet that there are some activists that were here, and I will be reaching out to you for that as well. I also happen to be an actress. I play Senator Ann on the Dark Ops series. Wow, Joe is ready. More ready than I am. And I am going to be directing my first short film this year. It features a vampire. Let's see if he's ready with the vampire picture. Aha, caught him. But in general, I'm just very grateful to be here. I think that Kat is amazing. Just the way that she so graciously offers her platform to other writers just makes us want to buy her books and promote her work right along with her. So thank you everyone for joining us. We're going to bring Kat back, or I should say KJ, to stick with her brand so she can say some parting words.
Talk about tech.
You know what? I really should have mentioned that my first book is coming out in December, and my publisher will probably smack me on the hand for not mentioning that.
Please do.
So please just keep an eye on my social media so that you can see when the pre-order comes out.
Yep. I can't wait. Well, thank you very much for this. This is great. And I hope everybody got an idea of what needs to be in their to-be-read list. So, yeah.
Lots of great choices.
Absolutely.
Lots of authors to follow. And thank you for sharing your platform with everyone. This is what it means to be a good literary citizen. You are definitely setting a great example.
I appreciate that. And just to let everybody know, Shadowrunner is available on Amazon. It's on the Black Rose website. It's also on BookBub. Watch BookBub because there's a free version coming up in the middle of August. It'll be free for, I think, a week. And then it's also available on Barnes & Noble, so you can get it anywhere. And I'm in Georgia a lot doing book signings. So if you go to my author webpage, you can find out where I'm going to be. I just have put up an events page now.
And remind us of your author webpage.
kjfieler.com.
And spell it for anyone who's only listening.
Yes, because no one ever gets me and Gail. We don't have anybody spell our name correctly.
Well, my mother's name is actually Gail, spelled the way Gail spelled it. So I would definitely get hers right.
And everybody gets her last name, puts an extra A in there. So it's KJ, F as in Frank, IELER.com. So, yeah.
Well, thank you again. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.